Hey guys, welcome back to another Small Business Spotlight. Today I'm here with my good friend Jahzeel Montes, and Jahzeel is the founder and creator of Internal Creations, and he's also a guitarist, and he was born in Washington Heights in New York City. He's a cool guy. We bonded for a number of reasons, not the least of which is we're both musicians, which is pretty cool. So I'd love. We're here. He's here today to talk about his business and what the amazing stuff he's doing. So, Hazel, welcome. Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. And tell us more about what you're doing and who you are. You know what your story is, man. How'd you come to come up with the idea of Internal Creations?
Oh man, before I get into that, I do want to say though, thank you for inviting me onto your live stream, man. I appreciate being on the spotlight here. Even though like I do all these things, it's weird. I don't like being on the spotlight. Even though I'm a rock and roll guy and I need to be in the front light, as a guitarist, getting the spotlight and shredding solos. It's still a little weird for me, but I thank you for that, and thank you for having this platform to talk to other people and be inspired by them. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, man. Well, for those out there, hello. My name is Jahzeel Montes, and I am the founder and executive director of Internal Creations. And the purpose of Internal Creations and our mission is to develop leadership, self-sufficiency, and life skills through learning the classical guitar. In a nutshell, we're here to create conscious kids that make for better people, as my friend Alice Garfield pointed out. And normally we do that by implementing free of charge classical guitar programs in schools, in public schools, private, everywhere, in community centers, and even mental health and substance abuse clinics, free of charge for the students, as I mentioned, and to provide music where music is non existent or not well known. So, Internal Creations, the way it started, it's an interesting story. It actually started out of love for the classical guitar, obviously, but also because of the fact that I was once in the shoes of these students that didn't get the opportunity to learn guitar free of charge and did not know that music was accessible. When I was young, I was pretty much just hanging out in the streets. I was hanging out with my friends and being unruly and doing things that we were not supposed to do. And in an attempt to get me off the streets, my mother had found a program in Riverbank State Park, which is in 145th Street in Harlem. And there they had programming for guitar, they had athletics and all that. And she shoved me into everything that I didn't want to do because it wasn't cool at the time. And guitar being one of them. So long story short, I did not pay attention to guitar, and I pretty much was swinging the guitar around with my best friend, who is now one of my brothers, uh, and we didn't learn a damn thing. So,
As kids,
so
as kids we do.
yeah, and it happened because there was also an inconsistency with the instructors too. There was an instructor that lasted 30 minutes, and all I remember him saying was, "Hi, my name is Jason, and this is a guitar." And that's all I remember. And then the next teacher that we had really didn't care too much to be there and was coked out of his mind. And just we dealt with somebody who didn't care, so we didn't care. And so, needless to say, I left the class and I heard a guitar playing on one of the songs, which was Kryptonite's Three Doors Down on the radio.
Mhm.
And so I remember hearing that guitar part and I was like, hey, that sounds pretty cool. I like this song. Wait, that's a guitar. I'm like, I have a guitar. It's somewhere in this apartment and is probably collecting dust. So I blew off the dust, and the strings were all out of tune because I never learned how to tune it. But then I found one note of that whole entire B minor chord. And from there, I thought I was a rock star. And that feeling, it was just amazing and intriguing. So I was like, you know what? Let me see if I could learn the whole entire thing. Found a few more notes, but very terribly. So I was like, let me go back to this class and see what's going on. And by that point, we had an instructor there who did care. He goes by the name of Billy, and he taught me everything that I needed to know to start learning how to play guitar from my first course to how to read basic music, etc. So my guitar journey started there. During that time, I was still very undisciplined. School was not really my thing, so I just didn't really care for it. So the value of work was not really made aware to me. Though I was learning it subconsciously through music, it was not brought to life until later on. And moving forward, went to high school. There was no guitar program during high school. I went to LaGuardia for the Arts. Fortunately, after being denied, I got accepted somehow afterwards, which seems to be the story of my life. And then, So during high school, I had no instruction, no guidance. So I just kept doing everything by ear, using the knowledge that I already had or just learned from my previous guitar teacher. And figuring things out musically on my own. Again, still being undisciplined academically and even musically in terms of practice and all that. And then when I got to college, fast forward to my third college at this point, uh, the man who really changed my life in this world, James Pierkowski, he I almost got kicked out of the studio in college twice. One, the first time for being mediocre with my practicing and not putting in my work, and I guess the first time didn't click, and I kept doing the same thing over and over again. uh, Einstein's definition of insanity, which I was. And then the second time around, he sat me down. I remember we were in a lesson. Now I'll tell you the story very vividly because this is the moment. And so I come into my lesson and I was just very ill prepared, obviously. And so he closes his door of his office before we start the lesson. He pulls his seat close to me, and then he sits there with no guitar in his hand, which was weird. Then he looks at me. He looks me directly in the eye and he says, "Hazel, I I think we need to talk very seriously right now." And in my head, I was like, "Oh crap, what happened now?" Because it still didn't register. And he kept looking at me in the eyes and he says, music is not just something that we do. Music is something that we breathe, something we live, something that we eat, something that we sleep. Music is something we embody, and this is a lifestyle. And it doesn't seem to me that this is your lifestyle. He's like, so I really suggest that you go and look for another major or you transfer to another major. And at that point, those words hit me like a ton of bricks because my mind started racing right then and there. And I was like, wow, I suck at everything except guitar. So why am I not doing this? And, after a few whiskey shots later and some beers, that was my reflection time. And I was like, you know what, let me flip the script here and, start doing the work that I need to do. And let me see if this is for real. And lo and behold, his words stood true. I started putting in the work. I started being more disciplined in my practice, more managing my time better, putting my all into everything, as opposed to just like getting by just to scrape by. And then at that moment, the door started opening where I got into one of the top quartets of the guitar program there. It was a competitive seat. It was me and a few other people. And then when we played a tribute concert to Roland Diaz, who was the top composer at the time. May he rest in peace. Now, we played a tribute to him in Buff State College, and he was in the audience, unbeknownst to us. And he loved our performance so much because of the work that we have put in, the care that we took of his music, those compositions, that he wrote a piece for us and dedicated it to that specific guitar quartet. The piece is called Phil Imaginaires. Beautiful piece if anybody wants to listen to it. Played by guitar orchestras as well. And during that, he facilitated a tour for us in Germany and France. And that moment, I was like, me, a Washington Heights, Latino kid from the street, was I ever gonna go to Europe? I thought Europe, I was never gonna go across the pond. I was like, I got there maybe by like a raft that I built out of logs, but not on a plane. So it actually happened, and we were there. We landed in Germany. We played in Nuremberg and made our way down to Paris, France, playing this piece that nobody has heard before that was dedicated to us as a world premiere, and amongst other great pieces that we prepared for the tour. And that moment, I realized, wow, if we need to put in our work for everything that we do if we want to reach success of whatever it is we're doing. And so those life skills were made more apparent to me because of uh, of that talk that I had or I got from my professor at the time. And the professor now is actually the president of our board of directors at Internal Creations.
Nice.
So it's just wonderful how life evolves, and I would not have anybody else take that position. He is like the guy that I look up to and very inspired, and continue to be inspired and love dearly. And moving forward, Internal Creations really happened also out of frustration and anger towards other nonprofits that I was involved in.
Mm.
And the reason being is because I had this notion of the life skills and like really creating independent kids to really be understand themselves and be self-aware of what they're thinking and what they're doing, so that way they can start guiding themselves in the right direction starting at a younger age, unlike myself. And I had that, and when I worked with these nonprofits, I wanted to build that kind of programming under them because I never went to school for business or nonprofit or anything like that. So uh, when that wasn't happening, what I'm saying? And it was a plethora of things, I'm saying? There was no disrespect or hate to them, but I was frustrated at the time that
Yeah.
I saw that the need and the gap that nonprofits are supposed to solve was not being met. It was not being solved. It was not being facilitated. And music programs were being provided. And when, and it was great and dandy because everybody was happy when they were there. But then when the nonprofit entity bounced and left, the kids were left scratching their heads, like, what are we doing now? And they went right back into their old habits, or we're trying to find something else to latch onto instead of them being able to take the skills that we teach them and be able to move forward with them on their own, and or not need anybody, to continue their journey. And that really broke my heart because to me, if we're going to be doing community work, if we're going to be solving a problem, a social problem or economic problem, etc., we need to provide the tools for people to be able to be self-sufficient, to be able to, see a problem and be able to problem solve effectively and efficiently. So why are we not doing that? So that frustration came out of that, and from there I created internal creations because I said, am I allowed to cuss on the live stream?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I said, fuck it. So I'm like, if nobody's gonna take what I'm trying to do here and understand the vision behind it, I'm just gonna end up doing it myself. So me and my friend Moises, I credit him for helping me give that push to incorporate.
Yeah.
He we kind of were just in my bedroom one night, and I was like, look, this needs to happen. Like, this is something that I need to do. And I've had this notion since college, since my since even before my life change happened at that point. Unbeknownst to me, it was just there. And so he was like, "Oh, let's just do it then. Let's just incorporate." So we got how to form a nonprofit for dummies, and looked up some stuff, and just went about it. And then through the School of Hard Knocks, here we are 7 years later. Since we incorporated in 2014 and got our tax exemption, and have been doing work ever since. And the work that we do is tough because not everybody's into classical guitar,
Right.
but we choose the classical style because it's very disciplined to begin with. It's a very disciplined approach to music when it comes to physical technique, being aware, self-aware of what you're doing in order to, align your motor skills, your left and right hand, to be able to read music. Well, there's so many things that happen that incorporate the success of you being able to perform a piece. And in those life skills, what we've noticed and what we teach, instead of just letting that sympathetically be taught to the students, we actually draw these life skills out and show students, hey, by the way, notice that you don't know how to play guitar right now, right?
Yeah.
And you will be able to play. There at first they're like, no, 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 but we're like, okay, we have to be patient because we're not going to just roll out of bed and have the skills to do anything we want, whether it's guitar, whether it's be a doctor, whether it's be a business coach, anything.
Or life in general.
Yeah, life in general. So we have to work towards it, but we have to be patient because things take time. There's no instant success, there's no instant gratification. And it's very rare that you become an overnight success. But even those overnight successes, quote unquote, have had many previous failures prior to them becoming successes. And
Absolutely.
so, what the first lesson that we teach kids that always drives them insane, we actually did that yesterday for one of our programs, is we give them a test the very first day. We give them a quiz, a written quiz, music questions, and they're like, "Oh my god, I don't know anything." And we give them some like life questions to see like where they are in their communities and how they view things. And we tell them the purpose of this test is for you to fail. Like, we want you to fail. Like we're giving you this test because our goal, I want to see a 20% on that test. And their kids are bugging out because this is like thwarting their perception of what success is, getting good grades constantly. And it's
Yeah.
what we're teaching them is that if we are not making mistakes, if we're not failing, we are not learning. And the very first rule that we give them is failure is okay. as long as you learn from them.
Right.
And so what we
Actually,
do,
failure
yeah,
lesson.
exactly. You know, the school of hard knocks. You know, whether we wanted to or not, life will give us those. It will give us
Yep.
that. And so from you know, we give them that same exact test at the very end of the school year when they have learned all the skills, and they forget all about it, and then they pass with flying colors. I'm talking about 100%. And then we give them the first test and the last the test, which are the same exact thing, and then
Yep.
we see, you see, that's right there. That's from your first P, patience, and then the second P that we have in our organizational culture and our programming is persistence. We have to be consistent, a very key word in everything that we do. And how are we consistent? How does music teach us that? Well, we got to practice every day, and if we want to get better, right? So, and the same thing with any skill. You know, we have to practice what it is we want to get better at. You know, and we have to be consistent. So that's where the persistence comes in. The perseverance is knowing that this road is going to be hard, but we're steadfast and we're going to get through it. You know, and we're going to continue to move forward. And you know, I throw in and sprinkle in the fourth P now, which is very recent for me, which is perspective. You know,
Mhm.
we're all in our own bubble, you know, and we all feel like the world's closing in on us, and it's like, oh God, what the, like I'm doing something wrong with this, me, and whatever. You know, we tend to do that because that's just human nature. But we tell them to, we teach how to view things from different angles, the same way that we problem solve, and we teach them how to fix measures 5 and 6 in their music. Okay, if this way is not working, why don't you try working it this way? This way, it's all different perspectives to solve a problem. Same way we tell them about perspectives about their own life, their own awareness, you know, what's going on with others, you know, how to not take things personal, things of that nature that as adults we do need. You know, we need these things, and we have to implement them in our lives to make our lives easier, you know, at the end of the day. And you know, so our programming is based on really developing students to be self-aware and to have these life skills while you know, the fun part being the guitar, making music. And the thing is, it's not individual lessons, these are group lessons, so they're playing as a guitar orchestra, so they're
Yeah.
playing with each other, meaning they're listening to one another, they're helping one another, if they're counting each other in, they're taking all the skills that they are learning from us, the instructors, and they are pretty much teaching themselves and teaching their colleagues, meaning that that knowledge is being retained. So my thing is, at the end of the day, with guitar and just music programming in general, music education in general, is that you can't fake those results. I
Yeah.
can't be like, yeah, we do this work and then just, you know, put a green screen of some random people playing, you know, and it's just no. These the kids that came in and not knowing anything, and not just kids, adults as well that we also teach, they are playing in front of you. How do you think they got there? You know, we didn't sprinkle some magic dust on them and then they just became awesome players and learn how to read music. They put in the work. All
Yep.
everything we do is just tangible results right there when you go see the programs in person, when you see the performances in person, or even when you get their testimonials. You know, it's very apparent, and that reminds me of why we do the work we do.
Yeah. No, man, that's awesome, man. You said a lot that I want to touch on. I mean, one of the big things you said, which is, you know, the idea of the P's first of all, but going back in reverse order,
Mhm,
the P's: persistence, perseverance, perspective,
mhm,
patience. Those are things that everybody needs to learn, right? And you know, the passion is what something another P that I'd add, because that's something you have clearly, because you know
mhm,
you love the work you do, it's which is very apparent.
mhm.
You know, it reminds me of just music in general. So that idea of like just getting into it and having that living, breathing that music. It's really, it's something that you can't really articulate all the time, right? That
Right.
feeling when you're in the middle of playing, when you're in that zone. But I think that the bringing that to people who don't otherwise have that ability to get that, to get that knowledge and to get that ability to practice it and learn that stuff,
Right.
you're doing it for free. I love that that you guys are doing it for free. You know,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really, really
And the reason why we do it for free, you know, sometimes I get the rebuttal of, oh no, you should charge a fee for, you know, same per student or whatever, reduced fee or something like that. Is that, you know, one of the ways that I want to that I see this is accessibility.
yeah,
It needs to be accessible for everybody, regardless of your class, your economic, your social economic class, or whatever. Uh, you could be filthy rich and you could be dirt poor and be in the same room, and that won't matter because we're working together at the end of the day, and you're learning about each other and you're building each other. It's nothing to do with finances whatsoever. You know, it's about making the music. It's about uniting as people. You
and
know.
it changed your life, right? Like you wouldn't have had you wouldn't be where you are right now if you hadn't
Right.
got the opportunity to learn this at some point in time in your life, right? And
Absolutely.
it's really about the opportunities, and like you said, accessibility is huge. I mean, you look at taking a very, very recent example of accessibility, right? Coronavirus, right? And all the BS happening with that, with the accessibility of vaccines and whatnot.
Mhm.
Take the stupid anti-vaxxers out of the question. Like people who are like, but you have those people who are considering like other countries. I do a lot of networking. I know you do as well,
Yeah.
and folks in other countries who don't have access to the vaccine the way that we do, or
Right.
anywhere near it. Like Malaysia. I do a lot of networking in Malaysia.
Mhm.
They're struggling to find the vaccine and they're on lockdown again. Like they're
Yeah.
back full lockdown. Like they can't travel within the country. They can't go anywhere. They're all at home. They are where we were last year.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a shame. It really is.
but accessibility is huge though. I mean, in terms of like being able to bring that to the communities that they can't otherwise afford it, that
Mhm.
don't even know it's out there. You're bringing it to them and saying, here's an opportunity. You're not just handing them a guitar, right? You're saying, here's an opportunity. And dude, you got to travel and play like almost professionally, right? You got to Germany and France. That's awesome, man. That's
Dude,
phenomenal.
yeah, it really is awesome. And the places where we performed,
Yeah,
like we performed in a castle in the Bergdong, and some dungeon looking thing, which was weird. I've never been first. I saw it in the movies only,
yeah,
I didn't think it existed. But we were there, and we performed in these spots too. And going back to accessibility, things like internet, things like that. There's a lot of things that the pandemic has shown. And I'm just repeating what everybody already knows here is that just access to the simple things that we take for granted, you
yeah.
know? And that's where perspective also comes in because, we're always like, man, we don't have this, we don't have that. Oh my God, dude, there's people right now that can't be in their homes without worrying that a bomb is going to drop right next door or that somebody's going to bust through their door right now. And while I'm having this live stream, somebody's going to, have an M16 or whatever rifle pointed at me and my family, and that this house is not mine anymore, is theirs. There's a lot of things like that. My background, my parents are from Honduras, from Central America.
Mhm.
I'm born here, first generation, and the things there's been eras in Honduras where it's been bad, where people, it's pretty much as imagine back in the day when we started the militia here with the British, and then pretty much you had to give up your home for them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That type of thing. That's happening out there with the gangs that are out there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna name specific gangs because I'm not trying to have an X on my forehead. But but the thing is, things like that do happen. People,
Absolutely.
we tend to live in a small bubble with just our world, again, human nature, because whatever's in front of us. But we have to think beyond. We have to look beyond, and not just beyond, uh, just beyond like, oh, from this block to the next. We have to think about beyond state lines. We have to think about beyond the waters, beyond the world. Think beyond ourselves. As people, there's a lot that we have to be aware of, and it's unfortunate that some people are not as aware as we should be, and they focus just on their bubble.
And some people don't even want to be, right. They want the ignorance is bliss, right. They want that idea,
Yeah.
and you think back to, I know you're a fan of the movies and that kind of stuff, but like the Matrix, right. Or
Mhm.
that guy Cypher, the one of the bad guys in the movie, so to speak, right. But his whole
Yeah.
thing was, he's like, I want to go back into the Matrix. That was he wanted to go back and he wanted to be someone famous. He's
Yeah.
like, ignorance is bliss. He didn't want to know.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Mhm.
He like, made me forget everything. And people have that mentality where they just don't want to know. But
Right.
perspective, right? I mean, your parents are immigrants. My parents were immigrants. Right, coming to this country my parents came in the 60s and 70s, right?
Mhm. Likewise.
And yeah, and so think about back then, man. Like that kind of a move at that time in human history. Like, I mean, even before that, but like even at that time, like if we can't fathom what that was like, right? Like
Yeah.
we complain about no Wi-Fi. They had phones. I mean, they can't call home. Like there's like one phone in the whole village back home in Guyana. Like,
Yeah.
maybe if they even had phones, right? And I don't even know. Like, but they moved across the world, and there was no way of calling back home and figuring out like, oh, hey, they're writing letters and stuff, right? And that letter would get there 4 or 5 days later,
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you can't even fathom right now. We complain when a cell tower goes down. And Facebook was down
Right.
today, right?
Yeah, the world went insane, you know what I'm
Freaking
saying?
out. Right? Like, oh my God, Facebook's down. Like,
Yeah, no, it's important that you say that too, because the way I think of it too is because we can't judge people, we can't judge like how other people's are. We can't say, oh, you're thinking right or wrong.
right.
We can agree and disagree.
Exactly.
Now, if you don't want to know, you want to keep the ignorance as bliss, then fine, but be kind to everybody
Yep.
and don't impose your thoughts and don't impose what you believe in onto others constantly. You know what I'm saying? Now, you can make them aware of what your perspective is,
Yeah.
but you can't try to shove it down their throat, you know?
Right.
And that's where I feel the friction really starts to happen, is where you take something and you're like, no, this is it and this is it only, And it's like, no, don't speak in absolutes here, Like, no, that's not going to work out, because then you're going to piss somebody off, and then that's where you start having the friction and then the conflicts, and then it just grows and grows and grows, and then there becomes little subsections of whatever that is, and
Right.
it just becomes a giant mess.
You basically treat opinions as facts, right? And say like, my opinion is a fact, and because I think so, I'm right, and you're
Right.
wrong, and whatever. And at the end of the day, opinions are opinions. But I mean, those, I think that perspective of like self-awareness, building that muscle to keep
Yeah.
looking at yourself and saying, okay, how do I get better? How do I get better? How do I get better?
Right.
That is an honestly, man, that's an invaluable, that skill by itself is invaluable, especially in life. You're talking about, where you have kids who are at that age, and that's one of my goals long term. I think that's what we talked about. This one of my goals long term is to go back and coach kids in high school and college for free. Right? It's
Yeah.
like you want to facilitate that where I can build enough of a business outside of that I can go back and coach them for free, because it's about building self awareness, about saying, hey, listen, this is how you look at yourself. This is what you want to be able to do for yourself. What are your goals? What do you want to get to? And
Right.
there's no wrong goal. Like just because just because this kid over here wants to make $1 million and your goal is only $200,000, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to
Nothing.
be $1 million. Like, who cares? Like, what you want to do may not cost $1 million, right?
Right.
And if you're happy doing that, you may want to make $60,000. Who cares? Like,
Mhm.
if you want to have a family and just relax and chill with your family, that's fantastic. That's happiness for you, right? Happiness is relative.
Yeah, exactly. Right there. You hit it on the head.
But kids nowadays, and they get up. I mean, they always have, actually, not just nowadays, but kids in general, they get caught up in this rat race idea. Like, I got to keep making more money, more money, more money. I gotta, like, to your point, I gotta pass this test. I have to get the perfect score in this test.
Mhm.
And they're not used to failing.
Right.
Their failure is something that they're deathly afraid of, because if they fail, it's like, God knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, taboo,
I mean, it's like we create this mentality in their heads that, like, it's like Squid Game. If you fail, you die. But that's not reality.
That's
Like,
not reality, yeah. Yeah,
it's
I
not.
still haven't watched it though, just so you know.
It's
I know
actually
the premise of it, but I haven't watched it.
all right. We'll go watch my live stream tomorrow, because I'm going to do a spoiler. I'll do a no spoiler review before, but then I'll do a back part of the spoilers. So but watch that
Sounds
till
like
you
a
watch.
plan. All
Yeah.
right.
But
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
we're coming up on time, but I wanted to ask you last two questions here.
Yeah, please.
First question I want to ask you is going to be first, second to last question, really. So ask you is going to be, what are some things that, like, books or movies or TV or anything that's like media wise that has influenced you personally as you're in your journey to create this company and your journey to grow the company? What are some resources that you've leaned on?
Well, it's weird because as I've grown as an adult, the one things that I listen to are videos. I do a lot of YouTube stuff, especially in the mornings, to, like, get my mind right, which I just started 7 years ago. It wasn't an always thing that I did, and it's more about just getting different perspectives on life, such as I would say that the two most influential things have been the Tao Te Ching. What I'm saying, just because of the fact that everything is just a paradox. You know what I'm saying? It's like my favorite one that I was discussing today in my BNI group was do nothing, but yet nothing is undone. So it's like, what the heck does that mean? But it's like, okay, I see the wisdom in it. There's that just pretty much in a nutshell. It's like, if you notice how things tend to work out regardless whether you do something or not, or like you did something like 5 months ago that is coming to fruition 10 months later, that type of thing that you completely forget about, but it was in the working somehow, like things of that nature. it's just very interesting to me just to get that philosophy, like we were talking about, like do well or die. It's this kind of a notion of like where is this balance, and then like obviously the writings of Marcus Aurelius, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are powerful, man, because it kind of goes along with like the Tao Te Ching of like how he approaches that philosophy. But as a leader, and as a caring leader, you want to make sure that you're doing right and have positive outlooks to still be effective, but not be tyrannical, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um, TV shows, yeah, not really. TV shows are more for like when I don't want to do anything, and I just want to veg out.
Yeah.
Just think one of the other things that I like to watch is like the nature shows, like David Attenborough, and so we see the crocodile running up the hill,
Yeah.
uh, because you just see the beauty of what nature is. And going back to the Tao Te Ching of do nothing but yet nothing is undone, look how the cycle of life works,
Yeah.
just like the seasons, there's always going to be a fall, there's always going to be a winter, a spring, and a summer, and it will always cycle. Now, will they last longer or shorter than others? Of course, especially nowadays. But it will always happen at some point, and nature just does that on its own. So without us having to do anything or it having to do anything,
Right.
the only happenings is what it already does, So those are the type of things that I like to, dive into and that inspire me and to get my mindset right, to really think beyond myself and not just be like, oh, what am I going to do here? All that good stuff.
I love that. And the last question, of course, is going to be about people, right? So,
Yes.
who have been the influential people? You mentioned your professor, obviously, right? But who are the people that influenced you the most in your life? Or maybe the top three, if you got
Of
one.
course. Well, I'll start off again with James Pierkowski. If you don't know him, look him up. He is the professor of guitar studies at SUNY Fredonia. That dude is just I just can't I can't even explain it in words. He's just on another level when it comes to on a spiritual level and just knowledge, and his approach and perspective of life is just it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and it he understands the world. He understands how to live it and how to teach it. So that's why he's like my number one in terms of my inspiration and who I look up to. Second, I have my boy named Y. He goes by the stage name Y with a question mark, because
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that inspires me. It's like he knows that he doesn't know everything, and so the fact that he just questions everything at that
Yeah.
point. And he's not only a phenomenal musician, he's a great freestyler. Like if you had him on board, which I'm pretty sure one day I'm going to put you together with him, he
Yeah.
can he can literally freestyle rap this whole entire live stream without stopping. All you have to do is just say a word, and he'll just go, and he will tell you a story and take you on a journey just through lyrics, just
Love that.
through rhyming and poetry and all that good stuff. And he's just a genius, and his zen is just infectious. It's just there. You need it. And then the third, there's just so many people, but the third would be just my mama. What I'm saying? And she should be the first, but for my,
I'm gonna say, I was like, Mama,
yeah,
get
but, but just don't tell her so I don't get my ass whooped. But but she, a lot of the skills a lot of the values that I have are from her. What I'm saying? Her, obviously my pops, um, and they're just skills of how to be a good person, and those are invaluable skills, like how to just be empathetic, how to give, and just to do, be clean in soul and heart, and and physically as well, and just that everything just embodies that whole thing. You just want to be as pure as possible when you're living in this world. Obviously there's times where you have to fight, but you always want to go back to being at peace, and being clean with yourself and to others. And so that's those are the top three that I can think of off the top of my head.
That's awesome, man. No, I love that. That's great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Azil, thanks so much, man, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, dude. Your story is super, like I said, super inspiring. I wanted to share it with
Thank you,
people,
man.
who reach out and stuff. And we'll put all the information, like your links and stuff, in the comment section of the description below. But if you want to reach out, how do people get involved? That's another question I want to ask you actually to close. Is like, how do people get involved? Can they get involved with internal creations? Are there ways that who are you looking to connect with in terms of folks getting involved, donating, whatever the process is for you?
Absolutely. Well, here's what well, to get involved, just go to our website. Everything is centralized there. www.internalcreations.org. Just go there. Everything is centralized there. You can reach out to us there in the contact, and it takes you directly to the email that goes right to me. So I'll be seeing that. And people who I'd like to connect with are people who want to continue doing good unto others. Right now, we are actually looking for Spanish-speaking classical guitarists, instructors for one of our Washington Heights programs. Actually, three of them. Yeah, but they just keep growing, so I'm losing track here. But it's a good problem. But yeah, so that's kind of priority right now. Also, we are starting a fundraising campaign to raise about $20,000 for our organizational core and all in the programs as well that we have. And the reason why I say it this way, and I state it this way, is because, as we all know, if the core of the business is not funded properly, everything around it suffers. If the nucleus is weak, everything will suffer. And right now, we've done everything for our programming, and I kind of forgot. This is me learning from the School of Hard Knocks. I forgot that. We also have to get people, key staff in order to, do different things in order to keep this moving efficiently and growing. So we're fundraising for that right now. So we will be pushing a campaign for that that you will see on our website as well. Board members always welcome. Volunteers, if you want to just see the programs, talk to the kids about what you do. We always love having people, and expose the kids to what's possible out there in the world. And if you just know people, referrals are always welcome. Always welcome. So definitely just reach out to me via the website, and I will be more than happy to have a conversation with you.
Awesome. Sounds good, brother. All right. So thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Thanks again for being on the show. Everyone else, please feel free to reach out to Jahzeel if you have questions for him. Please post them in the chat or reach out to him through the website. And if you have an interest in getting involved, whether you're a guitarist, if you're a guitarist and speak Spanish and you're in the Washington Heights area, or you go there, reach out to him. But thanks again, man. I appreciate it. If you like this video, if you want to share it with someone or want to comment, please feel free to do that. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, reach out, let us know what you want to see more of. And if you have questions, like I said, feel free to post them below. Absolutely. Thanks again, Jahzeel. Thanks so much again, man. I really, really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, Drew. And make sure everybody who's watching to make sure to show Drew some love. This man is doing amazing work too. So we got to show him appreciation. I clap it up for you, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks to people like you. So I appreciate it, man. Take care, guys.
Love is mutual.